It's been a few days since people finally got their hands on the long-awaited Nintendo Switch 2, and naturally, the internet is buzzing. There are already tons of videos, tweets, Reddit threads, and full-length articles dissecting every aspect of the system. Some folks are loving it, others not so much. Now look, I'm not here to tell you how to feel about the Switch 2. If you're excited, that's great. If you're disappointed, that's also completely valid. At the end of the day, we all have different preferences and expectations when it comes to gaming. But what I want to do in this video is take a step back and really look at some of the reasons people are not happy with the Switch 2. Because as I've been watching and reading reactions, two main complaints seem to keep popping up. One of them, I totally get it. I think it's a fair criticism, and it's something that absolutely deserves to be talked about. But the other complaint? Honestly, it just baffles me. I don't understand it at all, and I want to break it down and try to unpack why it's gaining traction, because it really shouldn't be. So today, let's dive deep into the two main reasons people are hating on the Nintendo Switch 2, and why, in my opinion, only one of them actually makes any sense. Alright, let's start with the first complaint. Something I think is totally fair, and that's the issue with Nintendo's new game keycard system. Now, if you were a Switch 1 owner, you probably remember how the original Switch handled physical media. There were a range of cartridge sizes, from 2 GB all the way up to 32 GB. Developers could choose the cartridge size that best fit their game's data, and as a result, most physical games on the Switch were actually physical. You pop in the cart, and the whole game is there. No download required. Sure, there were exceptions, especially with some larger third-party games, but for the most part, buying a physical copy actually meant something. But with the Switch 2, that's changed. Nintendo has standardized physical games to a single 64 GB cartridge format. On paper, that might sound like a generous upgrade, but in practice, it's causing all sorts of problems. First, if your game is small, like 4 GB, 8 GB, even 12 GB, you're now forced to use that full-sized 64 GB cart, which is significantly more expensive to manufacture. That drives up costs for developers. And since a game like Puyo Puyo Tetris 2S isn't exactly a $70 experience, that extra cost either eats into the publisher's margins or gets passed on to the consumer. And let's be real, no one's paying full price for a tiny puzzle game. So what's the workaround? Enter game keycards. These look just like a cartridge, but they don't contain the actual game. Instead, they're basically a license key that requires you to download the full game from the internet. No game data on the card, no offline play unless you've already installed it, and you're still using up valuable storage on your system. On the flip side, we've got bigger games. Titles like Cyberpunk 2077, Street Fighter 6, or Call of Duty. These often exceed 64 GB, especially when you factor in modern features like 4K textures, audio packs, and post-launch updates. Developers have to go through the extra effort of compressing data or cutting content just to fit the 64 GB limitation, or, again, offload the rest of the install onto the game keycard, requiring a download. This puts us in a strange position. The Switch 2 is technically more powerful. It supports massive games, gorgeous visuals, and even modern tech like HDR and ray tracing. But the physical format Nintendo is using is actively holding it back from delivering true physical editions for the vast majority of releases. And that's a real bummer. If you're a physical collector, if you value preservation, or just like the idea of owning what you buy, this shift is frustrating. It's not the end of the world, and yes, you can still resell or gift game keycards, unlike digital-only purchases. But it's not ideal. Could Nintendo have offered multiple cartridge sizes like before? Probably. Could they have explored a new physical medium entirely? Maybe. But for now, the hybrid model they've landed on has put physical media fans in a tough spot. And I completely understand the backlash around that. Now here's where things get weird. The second major complaint I keep seeing is this idea that the Switch 2 is just a better Switch, that it's too safe, that it's basically a Switch Pro, that it's not a real successor. And people are treating that as a bad thing. What? Let me just say this as clearly as I can. That is exactly what a successful console sequel should be. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Look at Sony. Look at Microsoft. From the PS2 to the PS3 to the PS4 to the PS5, it's always been the same core idea. Take what works, make it better. Better graphics, better performance, better features, smoother UI, cleaner controller layout. It's an evolution, not a reinvention. And now Nintendo has done the same thing. After years of weird experimental systems like the Wii, the Wii U, and even the DS-3DS line, they finally struck gold with the hybrid console concept. The Switch was a smash hit, one of the best-selling consoles of all time. So why on earth would they throw all that away and start over from scratch? This system runs Switch 1 games better. Games like Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild now run at 4K 60 with HDR support. That's a dream scenario for a lot of us who suffered through 30 FPS drops and blurry visuals in handheld mode. Mario Kart World looks absolutely stunning at 4K 120Hz. We're talking buttery smooth gameplay, crisp resolution, vibrant color grading on a Nintendo handheld. And it's not just raw power. There are meaningful quality of life upgrades here too. Built-in game chat, mouse control, faster eShop performance, smart UI tweaks, no weird workaround apps. I was literally lying in bed in handheld mode and joined a crystal clear voice chat with friends without needing a headset or external mic. That's wild for Nintendo. This is what people were asking for since 2019. A beefier Switch. One that runs better, looks better, feels better, and finally has the tools and horsepower to support modern AAA games without compromise. So again, what did people want? A home-only console that abandons the hybrid model entirely? A weird new gimmick like motion controls or dual screens again? A VR headset? Be real, Nintendo played this one smart. They kept what worked, and they made it better. Is it safe? Yes. Is it boring? Only if you define boring as finally competent. And for the first time in a while, Nintendo has a console that can go toe-to-toe with other platforms and still offer that unique portability factor. So look, if you're upset about the game key cards, I get it. Physical media is important to a lot of people, and it feels like we're slowly watching it fade away. And yeah, Nintendo's current setup isn't doing collectors any favors. But if you're mad because the Switch 2 is just a better Switch, I don't know, man. I can't get behind that. I think that's exactly what this console needed to be. Anyway, those are my thoughts. Now I want to hear from you. Do you think the Switch 2 played it too safe? Are you happy with the improvements, or were you expecting something more ambitious? Drop your comments below, and let's talk about it. And hey, if you enjoyed the video, or even if you didn't, go check out the other content on the channel. There's always something new coming, and I appreciate you being here either way. Until next time, take care, stay gaming, and I'll catch you in the next one.